cash being thrown.
In January of 2023, police in North Wales received a tip-off from a member of the public that a number of males were seen coming and going from a long out-of-use rundown shop on the main street in Bangor. The police began to make inquiries and sure enough the shop had been out of use for a number of years. Officers utilising a police drone were able to identify a heat signature coming from the building. On the 30th of January 2023, police executed a search warrant at the premises. Inside, police uncovered a cannabis cultivation operation worth approximately £1.2 million and also 2 Albanian males hiding in the property. The property had been extensively adapted with cabling to run the operation and it was unsafe for police to conduct any further searches. Officers then sought the assistance and expertise of the local utility company. They advised the police that the main source of electricity coming into the building was actually coming in from the high street outside, and that was the point at which the electricity was being abstracted from. Police conducted further inquiries in the area and obtained CCTV footage and identified a van with the signage of a company called Elevate come onto the high street. 6 men in high-vis alight from the van and begin to erect barriers on the street. They essentially close off half the high street in order to dig up the road outside the building, and CCTV footage clearly showed the males working on the cables. For the next couple of months up until April of that year, police conducted further warrants along the high street in Bangor. The properties all had similar setups. They were disused shops that had become dilapidated. Police then identified 5 further Albanian nationals in the buildings and a total value of £800,000 worth of cannabis. Police then conducted further inquiries into the males that were seen alighting from the Elevate van. Officers went on to identify these men as being from the Merseyside area. This was starting to look like a much bigger and more elaborate operation than officers had initially thought, so they then sought the assistance of the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit. As officers from the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit began their investigation, they started looking at the company Elevate Civils and Utilities. They identified 2 men, Ross McGinn and Andrew Roberts, as company directors, and they were directing the day-to-day business of Elevate Civils and Utilities. Graham Roberts was another man identified, and he was a skilled jointer of 3-phase electrical cable. His role in the operation was to join new cable to the existing old cable, which would eventually bring power into the grow operations. There were some other men employed to carry out various other roles, including Michael Ashurst. His job was to find the cables and dig up the road to expose the cables. In similar roles to Michael Ashurst, there were other ground workers. These included Greg Black, Lewin Charles, Aidan Doran and Jack Sherry.
Back past the police station, one direction of Marketplace, maybe Morrison's, and the shorter 102, just on the opposite direction towards
Alpha Radio 331 for an age. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have a look into number 5 of the 26th.
It transpired that one of the males involved here was arrested by Merseyside police on an unrelated matter, which meant his phone had to be downloaded. Discovered on the phone was a WhatsApp group entitled Elevate Civils and Utilities. Delving deeper into the WhatsApp group showed police that the gang had been operating all over the country. They would use the WhatsApp group to discuss where they were going the next day, how the work was progressing and to send photos. Officers had to investigate every single message and photo that was sent, which led them all over the country. This investigation turned out to be quite multifaceted. Not only did you have the drug cultivation and distribution operation ongoing, but you also had a rogue utility company going around ripping up roads all over the country. But alongside those investigations, police also looked into the human trafficking side of this operation. In a lot of cases, criminal gangs exploit vulnerable people and use them to maintain these grow operations. A lot of them are brought illegally into the country with promises of a better life and a better future, only to end up in a situation like this under duress and basically a modern day slave. Most of the time these people are living in a small room within the building where the grow operation is taking place. They essentially act as caretakers for the operation, looking after the plants but also providing some form of security. These people have nowhere else to go and are kept there under the threat of violence or being deported. So that's just another complicated part of this case that police have to investigate. As you'd imagine, operations like these use a massive amount of electricity with all the fans and heaters that have to be kept running. So it's of benefit to the gangs running these operations to get that electricity for free. In normal domestic properties, electricity is single phase, but in order to get more electricity into the building to run an operation such as these ones, you need to have three phase. And this is what the company Elevate Civils and Utilities specialised in. They had basically become experts in delivering three-phase electricity into large-scale cannabis cultivations. In order to supply three-phase electricity into one of the buildings, Elevate would have to dig down into the street and expose the mains cable. And that would be the main electrical line owned by the electricity company supplying all the buildings on the street. Once the location of the cable was found, this would need to be cut open to expose all the cables inside of it. This would then need to be spliced into and a new cable attached which would run electricity into the building where the cultivation was taking place. They would then seal everything up and replace the road, and to a normal member of the public they would look like legitimate workmen doing a legitimate job. It turned out that Elevate Civils and Utilities had been working in nearly every police force in the UK, so investigators had a massive task to try find out where all these different cannabis cultivations were taking place. In order to do the things that Elevate was doing, such as digging up roads, closing roads and splicing into electrical cables, they needed various different permits and licenses which they didn't have. They had sign-written vans, barriers and all the various tools and equipment they would need, and also the workmen were dressed appropriately. So as I said before, to any normal member of the public, everything looked above board. This sort of work is not something you can just go out and do. It's very dangerous and you do need to have some sort of expertise or knowledge of it. Here's some footage taken by a member of the public of Elevate carrying out some work, and as you can clearly see here, there's some sort of electrical arcing going on. It's a perfect example of how dangerous this work can be if it's not carried out correctly, and I really can't understand the mentality of that workman putting his safety at risk to rescue a toolbox. Police recovered a photograph of Andrew Roberts with his face burnt. Messages relating to the photo alluded to the fact that he had not connected something properly and caused a small explosion. Judging by the photo, it looks like he got a quite nasty burn, and it's lucky he wasn't more seriously injured or worse. The work that these individuals are undertaking is extremely dangerous, and one mistake could end up costing them their lives. On occasion, members of the public would contact their local police force with their suspicions. In one such case from the northeast, concerned neighbours called the police early one Sunday morning because the workmen were making so much noise. Police did attend and Graham Roberts was arrested, while another man who was there with Roberts fled the scene and escaped from the police.
Are you working with this, are you?
Yeah, we're doing a blockage from that side, which I can't find.
Alright, what's your name, mate?
Graham Roberts.
Right, okay. Where are you from, Graham?
From Wigan.
So you've travelled up from Wigan?
We go everywhere, mate. We go London, Scotland, everywhere.
Quick one, mate.
Yeah?
I know you were saying you were here by under AC Civils.
Yeah.
That company wound up in 2022.
2022?
Yeah.
2023 now.
AC, yeah, it's on the
AC
government website.
Civils.
Yeah. Compulsory
Like I
liquidation.
say, we don't think he just sends the job.
Yes, but the problem being
but-
is
yes.
they had a liquidation. So the question is we've had an issue with this, and I've just got to make sure that this is being done legit.
Yeah,
You're telling me that
yeah.
you've been tasked by a company that
Yeah,
went
yeah.
bust last year. So if you got, so who's your supervisor that I can contact?
Ross, who's his supervisor.
Ross.
Yeah, he's the supervisor on the street work side.
Ross who?
Ross McGinn.
Because of an incident in Sunderland. So apparently you are the person in charge that I've been told to speak to. Right, okay, I'm the duty sergeant at Northumbria Police. Alright, been passed your number. Right, who's he?
Right, what's up?
Well, he's just hung up on me as soon as I identify myself as a police officer.
The incident you just seen took place in Sunderland and Graham Roberts was arrested at the scene. Scottish Power provides energy to Sunderland, so police investigators made contact with them. The police did this because, as you can imagine, they don't have any expertise in how to join electrical cable and they wanted to understand how the gang were doing this. Investigating officers developed a very close relationship with Scottish Power and they assisted police throughout the whole investigation. As a result of this close cooperation, Scottish Power were able to identify a corrupt employee. Through mobile phone analysis, police were able to see that Ross McGinn and Andrew Roberts were in contact with someone called Colin White. There would be messages between them or in the group saying you need to go see Colin, or you need to get equipment off Colin, or go to Col's yard. It became apparent to investigating officers that Colin White was an enabler who was stealing professional equipment and assisting the gang in undertaking their illegal activities. Some of the items that Colin White was providing to the gang were things like cables, jointing shells and resin, as well as couplers, which are essential for jointing three-phase power cables. The police now had enough evidence and a strong enough case that they could make some arrests. Police used a number of teams across the northwest and northeast to conduct raids on a number of properties and arrest all 11 members of the gang.
Door open, door open. Stay where you are! Stay where you are. Stay there. Back up against the wall. Stay where you are for now, so okay, we've got a warrant to search the premises. What's your name?
You're going to be under arrest, okay, so it's 602. You're currently under arrest for conspiracy to produce Class B drugs, conspiracy to okay, so you do not have to say anything to no harm, you do not mention when you question something that you later rely on court. Anything you do say may be given an evidence, okay, do you understand that?
Yeah.
Do you have a reply to that?
No.
Police executed a search warrant at Elevate's premises, which was in the Wigan area. At the location, police found a lot of electrical jointing equipment. Elevate never had the relevant licenses or authority to cut and joint electrical cable, and all the cable and jointing equipment that were found on the premises were stolen from Scottish Power. There were also a number of vehicles on the premises that were registered to the company. This included motorbikes, vans, various diggers, breakers and generators, all of which were seized. Company director Ross McGinn was sentenced to 5 years and 4 months in prison. Company director Andrew Roberts was sentenced to 6 years and 2 months in prison. Cable jointer Graham Roberts was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in prison. Groundsman Michael Ashurst was sentenced to 3 years and 4 months in prison. Groundsman Greg Black was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison. Groundsman Lewin Charles was sentenced to 2 years and 8 months in prison. Groundsman Aidan Doran was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Corrupt Scottish Power employee Colin White was sentenced to 2 years and 5 months in prison. And finally, groundsman Jack Sherry was given a 22-month suspended sentence. He also received a 1 year and 10 months detention and training order, which was suspended for 18 months, and 100 hours unpaid work, which was to be completed within 12 months. The aptly named Operation Spark turned out to be quite a protracted investigation, and the value of cannabis seized during the operation was in excess of £8 million. There was also a huge cost to the electricity companies here, both in the power that was abstracted and also the damage to the electricity network that had to be repaired afterwards. The loss of cabling and jointing equipment also cost Scottish Power a substantial amount of money. There's also a further cost here for the owners of the buildings in which these cultivations are carried out in, and a lot of these owners have no idea what's going on inside their buildings. Operation Spark was a massive success for all the police forces and agencies involved. They managed to bring down an organised criminal network and bring the perpetrators to justice. If you did enjoy this video, please do go down below and drop us a like, as it does really help the channel out. If you wish to help support the channel so we can continue making more content, you can find out how to do that at some of the links down below in the description. Thank you for watching and take care.